You're listening to Dude Podcast with JC and Will. Put some pep in that step. Enjoy the show.
I'm Will.
I'm JC.
And you're listening to
Dude.
I really want to know how you're doing because, folks,
Let me just pull back the curtain here a little bit. And what I have witnessed in preparation of this podcast has, I don't know if it's been entertaining. I don't know if it's been disturbing. It's been Will versus a couple. I don't know if it's one fly or multiple flies, but the words coming out of your mouth are words that I do not think Kay Skaggs would approve of, A. And B, you also made a statement like they're out to get you. Like they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. They know they're annoying me. For people who are listening, there is one fly trapped in this room that I'm in right now. It keeps flying on my face, and I keep trying to get it. And if you spend enough time with me, you know that I hate when flies are in my house. I absolutely hate it because it feels like the flies are trying to taunt me. And right now, this one fly is coming around at the most inconvenient time. So if you see me just start swatting, if you're watching this on YouTube, and you see me swatting, it's because I want death to that fly.
I will say he's a big boy. You're not lying. I could see him visibly on the screen a handful of times. So it's not like you have some I don't know, wimpy little dainty fly. I mean, this is a left tackle of a fly that you're going up against here.
I will emerge victorious, and I will see that fly to its grave. That may not be cool of me to say.
I would also like to tell the audience that multiple times before we've gone and started the recording, he has turned to me and said, "This is it. I'm doing it," and then proceeded not to get the fly. And then he did that 3 or 4 times. So Will talks a big game. I'm not sure he can deliver.
That fly, going back to your football analogy, that fly truly is the Barry Sanders of flies. He can just cut corners real fast.
It's amazing. He really is. He's like Cam Newton. He's just he's big, but he can move. He's everything. He's that anomaly, once in a generational fly that you're going up against here. This isn't any common fly. Real quick before we get into it, I believe we had a pretty hilarious review that we wanted to give a shout out to. Is that correct?
This is correct, Sir Crumb. This is correct. So maybe once a week, I just look to see if we have new ratings or reviews or anything like that. And we got a new review, and it's pretty great. It's 5 stars, which, come on.
Making us blush.
It says, "This pod gives me the will to live." And look, I know every other podcast says, advertises for BetterHelp, and we're all pro therapy here. But when JC and I set out to do this podcast, we said, why advertise for BetterHelp when we can be BetterHelp?
When we're giving people the will to just get out of bed in the morning.
Mm-hmm. This is where every podcast goes wrong.
They may try to entertain. They may try to inform. We don't try to do any of those things. We're really just trying to keep you alive. It's a lot of pressure, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, but that's why we got into the game. This is why we play the game, friend.
Yeah, no doubt. I have big news.
Are you pregnant?
I am not. So, as you know, I went away on vacation,
mm-hmm.
and I went to the Finger Lakes. That is. So, we rented a vehicle to go to the Finger Lakes. I do want to stress this. It's just me, my wife, and one child. All right. But, he has a lot of stuff, and we have a lot of stuff, And we thought, you know what? We want to bring some things. We're like the closest going to this trip. Like my family's more or less coming to me from Dallas and Tulsa on this trip. Let me rent something that I can bring some fun activities in this vehicle. And both my car, my wife's car would not suffice. So I reluctantly rented a minivan. And let me tell you what.
Was it a thrill?
I'm in love. I'm all in. I'm actually in the process of buying a minivan as we speak.
Are you going to get rid of cars, or are you going to be one of those rich 3-car families?
No. I'm going to be, listen, me and the little BMW we had a good ride. It was fun.
For the last 10 years, you've had the opposite of a minivan. You've had a Mini Cooper and a little BMW. You have no space. I don't even think you can fit all your legs in there, can you?
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's an ordeal, especially for older people, to get into my car. It becomes
Right.
and like they like make a face at me, and I'm like, I didn't. It's like when my mom always looks at me like when there's a movie she doesn't like that I suggested, like I wrote the movie. It's the same way with a car. Like I designed this car. I'm like, I didn't want it to be this low. It just kind of was low. Anyway. But yes, I'm going the opposite direction, and I am going to trade it in. I'm going minivan, baby. I'm all in. I love it.
Here's what scares me. I am definitely one of those people who adamantly does not want one. I never want to be that guy. I grew up with a minivan. I personally think they're kind of dweeby. I get they're practical. My sister, growing up, was as extreme that way as possible. She hated minivans. She always said, I'm never getting a minivan. You can force me to get a minivan. I will never be the mom to get a minivan. She has 4 kids now and the minivan. And if that can sway her to getting a minivan, and she loves the minivan life, I'm a little nervous now that you now say you want a minivan. And I don't know. What's going on with you?
So
I can't even tell if you're there. You walking out of frame.
no, I'm sorry. I have these ACs going in the background, and I couldn't tell if they were being picked up. The audio was being picked up.
We need to talk about this real quick. Let's put aside the minivan thing real quick, folks. I need to. You talk about peeling back the. There's the fly.
There it is.
So okay, so this podcast is chaotic so far. So talk about peeling back the curtain. Every week, JC has a comment about the audio. I just feel like my audio is off. Will, I feel like my audio is off. If you don't know already, I am a clinically deaf human being. I wear hearing aids. I'm very, 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 very deaf. JC is the opposite. If a fly lands on a leaf petal, he's like, what was that? What was that? Your ears are so sensitive.
I'm an owl. Hoo, hoo. I think they have good hearing. I think.
The things that you hear and like irritates you or like distracts you is insanity.
This is true. And I think that's why we were a good team.
I think you're right.
It was like an evolutionary, like we were just drawn to each other because of the deficiencies there.
I think in the womb, even though, technically we weren't in the same womb, but I think you ate my hearing in the womb.
I used my X-Men powers to eat your...
Absorb
your hearing, even though I was literally... you were born months before me.
Look, I don't want to get behind the science of it, but I'm thinking that's what happened.
You know what? I'm no scientist, but I think you're right.
Okay, so let's get back to the minivan thing. I said I definitely don't want a minivan. I don't want to join that cult. Talk to me about what tipped you over.
It's just the convenience. It's so much more...
Go deeper into the convenience. I want to know, like, when you were driving, what did you say, like, oh, this thing is so convenient, I definitely am going to get one?
So I think it has to do with the chairs easily fold away. They fold, like they can be propped up They can disappear. I like the 2 pilot seats that are in the minivan. That's a big one. I don't think I would be a fan of like the 3, but the 2 pilot seat, they're beautiful seats. You know, the child can kind of like be in their own little world there. I just feel like I kept thinking to myself, oh, we can't bring this. And then there was plenty of room. Oh, certainly we don't have room for this. We do. And so it's the room, and they get pretty good gas mileage for the most part.
Well, let me ask you this. My sister, the thing that tipped her over, well, A, she has 4 kids, so it was the room factor. But B, she said they're fairly inexpensive in terms of A, gas mileage, but B, just the straight up purchasing of the vehicle.
I'm going to get a used one. They actually can get pretty pricey, as with everything, you know, the world kind of ran out of everything. So you got to do a little bit more work. I feel like in the, you know, mid to late 90s, early 2000s, I feel like finding a minivan would have been the easiest thing in the world. It's a little bit of work now. A lot of the car companies don't make them anymore, but like, dude, I love it. I sat there and I was just like, everything about this is so much more convenient than every other car that I drive. Like, it's just amazing. And I'm excited to be a van guy. It took me all of, did the fly just like make it appear? I saw your eyes.
Yes, I'm trying my best to hold it together.
I saw that your eyes darted.
When I get that fly, I'm going to shout in victory.
But anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you. I mean, I'm excited to be a van guy. I'm gonna lean into. Oh my god!
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You know what? You don't even deserve to come in my minivan. After
The fly is
you know
doing
what?
this.
Guess who's invited in the minivan? The fly, and not you.
Hey, the fly's the one who's ruining this experience for me. He's saying, you can't hang out with your friend. I'm going to distract you. When he's trying to tell you this important life news.
What's so great about the minivan, Will, is there's so much room, you wouldn't even know the fly was there. He'd be sitting in his little bucket seat by himself, and he would just wave at you. And then you'd probably, like, he'd probably seem like a decent citizen. I'd be driving the car, right? We're imagining I'm driving the car. The fly's buckled in. You're on the other seat. And midway through the drive, you murder the fly.
I would. Because he'll be taunting me. You know how, like, in the back, like when you have 2 kids in the back and one kid's like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
And then there ends up being a Netflix documentary about you murdering this fly. And we all thought Will was a good guy. Turned out he was a serial killer of bugs.
I hate flies. I kill him just to watch him die.
So my one niece is into Thumbelina.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the story of Thumbelina? She was just a very...
I do. Yeah.
I don't ever remember that movie, though. Do you remember Thumbelina, the animated film?
It's a story about a Princess Thumb.
No, it's not.
And she rolls over the Finger Lakes. And her name was Thumbelina.
I think because she was the size of a thumb, not an actual thumb.
Agree to disagree.
All right. Well, so I started looking into this movie. The history on that movie's wild. Like, it bankrupted. Like, I'd never heard of it, and I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But like, it's terrible. Like, it's honestly like it's the most wheels off cartoon. Like, there's way too many characters. You can't keep track of the story at all. There's times when I'm watching it where I'm like, I think this is offensive. Like, I think it offends like 3 or 4 different ethnic groups, like, very quickly. Like, enough for it to like almost like make you be like, I think that was offensive. But it like bankrupted the studio that created the film. Dude, I looked at how much it cost to make the film, and it looks terrible. It looks terrible. Mind you, it was made in like 1990.
94. I'm looking at it.
94. Okay? I watched the film. I was like, this film is horrible. In my head, I'm thinking, this film probably cost at most couple million bucks.
Yeah.
$28 million.
You know what I bet all that money went to? I just saw Gilbert Gottfried's in it. He was asking for the big bucks.
Listen, I need the money. You gotta pay me. If you don't pay me the money, you're not getting the voice.
Growing up, like well into my adulthood, I thought his character's name was the Ago. Like, he is the ultimate Ago. He is the Ago. And then I learned maybe 5 years ago it's Thiago.
No, it's not. Wait a minute. It's not Thiago. It's Iago.
Wait, I just Googled it. There is a soccer player named Thiago.
Okay, well, that doesn't tell us any.
I honest to God thought it was the Ago. I thought he was like the ultimate Ago.
What is an Ago?
I don't know. I never questioned it. I just thought he's an Ago. He is the Ago.
There isn't like I'm looking. Are you looking at how these? Are you?
It's Iago. There's no th. Now I'm learning all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it was Iago. IAGO, not Thiago or Viago.
Viago sounds better than Thiago.
Viago.
Listen, I'm not just Ago.
I'm Viago. Listen, I know some people here think they're a big bag Ago, but I am Viago.
Get it right.
Get the Ago right.
Jafar didn't want just any Ago. He wanted the Ago.
Jafar was entirely too similar to Scar, right? They were kind of like the same dude, to a degree.
Well, I mean, a minor difference is one of them was a man and one of them was a lion.
Fair. That's true. That's fair. When he became a snake, ooh, just scary.
That was naughty.
I think the worst is like when you're singing a song out loud and you audibly say the wrong thing and someone is like, what?
This is my life. It's my everyday occurrence. You know what? I was just telling Jordan, my wife, for years, I thought it was in the Star Spangled Banner. I thought it was the Donderly light. I was like, what's Donderly light mean?
But you're just like, that sounds like a word.
The guy who was writing this, he saw a light and he goes, how is that light? Bright? No. Vibrant? No. Donderly. It was very Donderly. So for years, I never questioned. I thought it was the Donderly light. A light that is very Donder.
I mean, yeah, how would you describe that kind of a light? Because I have an idea of how I would describe that light. Even though, again, it doesn't. Let's be very clear. This word does not exist. I would say if it was, how I would describe the Donderly light? Like, sort of dirty. Like, there's dust.
That's not how I thought of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, tell me.
So if I saw, like, Brad Pitt on the red carpet, and he's looking all dapper, he's got his suit on, he's got his hair, maybe he's got a little scruff going, and, he's got his arm candy, but he's being real respectful to her.
Yeah,
it's like,
of course,
he cares more about her than the attention.
Of course he does. He's Brad Pitt.
And that is Brad Pitt being Donderly, my friend. Just so full of Donder.
Has anyone in the history of the world ever made eating more cool than him?
No. In all the Ocean's movies, he eats so well. He eats like nachos and like the way he like licks his fingers to get all that sauce.
He looks so cool. Like I've never watched somebody in my life eat and be like, that was cool. It's always gross and like I don't even want to look at them when they're eating. Like, that's how disgusted. But when Brad eats, I'm intrigued. I want to watch him eat more.
You know what he does? He eats it very Donderly.
He's a Donderly eater.
So, we're talking about cinema. We're talking about, hearing crazy things. My wife the other day referred to one of our kids as our loin fruit. She said, there's our loin fruit. That's our loin fruit. And that's a cool way of describing your child. The fruit of your loins. I love that. That's a great way to talk about your kids. And I said, did you come up with that? That is a very clever saying. Loin fruit? And she said, no, I heard it from a show. I said, what show did you hear it from? In a million years, I could never have guessed what show she heard this from. She heard it from Gilmore Girls.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say like Law and Order.
Yeah. And you could have given me 100 guesses. I would have never said Gilmore Girls came up with a brilliant loin fruit. My wife is a big Gilmore Girls fan, and
so is my grandfather.
Yeah,
I think we talked about that. We may have talked about this. He's obsessed,
and
he watched the whole series.
So your grandpa, next time you see your grandpa, say the term loin fruit. See if he gets it.
What if he just like punches me in the face? It's like, I can't take you woke folks, and he just punches me in the throat. Grandpa,
Lorelai said it.
Lorelai said it. It was hilarious in an episode. And he was like, oh, I thought that was in an episode of Law and Order. So, children, and so my son is 1.5 years, and it's just butterflies and rainbows right now. He is silly, and it's cute, and he's giggling, and
and he doesn't have a sibling to influence any naughty behavior.
Yeah, exactly. Which is partially this. My nieces are 4 and 5 years old, right? And they're little girls, and they're so cute. They really, and I'm not just saying this because they're my nieces. They're just big bows, and they wear cute little, and they got these cute little voice, they're adorable little voices. But I'm telling you what, the youngest one is a liar, and it's unbelievable to watch a child try to manipulate you actively, and to see the cogs moving, it's incredible. And you're like, what sort of monster are you? You know what I mean? Where she's just so perfect example. She'd be like, can I have this cookie? And we'd be like, no, ask her, did your mom say you could have the cookie? And I'm not joking what she said. This was her response. If you were my mom, what would you say about the cookie? And I'm like,
how do you respond to that?
We're like, go ask your mom. We're like, no, go. But it was like mind games like that were played, and where she would just lie about, she had really bad gas one day. We couldn't believe it was coming out of this adorable little girl, because it was honestly some of the worst gas I've ever, it smelled like something died in the room. It was awful. And to think of that was coming out of this little girl is incredible. Right. But then her being like, oh my gosh, somebody did it. She blamed it early on somebody else, and she was so convincing. And it was her. Because it got down to a point where she was it was her and somebody else in a room together. And then I think it was my wife, and my wife was like, oh my God, Quinn, that was you? And she was like, no. But yeah, I mean, the web of lies this little girl, like, it's incredible. And I'm like,
Here's the difference between a boy and a girl is like, if she had bad gas and she played mind games to make you think someone else had the gas.
I thought I had the gas for a minute. That's how good she was.
If it were my son, it'd be the opposite. He would let the world know.
Yeah.
I got some farts in my butt, and they are totes gnarly. You gotta love it. Like, he wants the world to know it. He wants you to know he's got it. He's gonna let you know every time he lays down a hot one. He's not gonna try to deceive you. He's gonna try to cause mayhem.
Your son's like the Joker.
Yeah.
He just wants to watch. He wants to watch the world burn. Some people, Mr. Wayne, just want to watch the world burn. That was not a very good Michael Caine impression. I'm sorry, Michael.
Your niece, she's more of like the Riddler. She's leaving clues, but she's not letting you know she's behind it, you know?
Yeah. No, that's a great point. She is the Riddler. At one point, we were out at the pool, and my sister saw an 8-ball like roll by. We were out by the pool, not playing pool, and an 8-ball rolls by, and we're like, what the? She has the, like a pool cue, and she has the, whatever the rackham thing is, the triangle thing, and she has it, and we're like, you can't, what are you doing with that out here? And she's like, Papuli wanted me to bring this out. And we're like, no, that's not true. Like, in no world did my father say, Quinn, please, can you bring the pool equipment out by the pool? I don't think boys are capable of the kind of mind manipulation that I experienced this weekend or week with my nieces on vacation.
No.
But, I mean, it scared me to death, man. I'm like,
girls, but here's the thing, it's the give and take, because a girl, they think they sit down, they color for the most part. I think they should like sit down and color and play with their toys, and they're just well behaved, and you know, everything's just so.
They're
But
cute.
boys-
They're very and they with their little bows, and they have the little voice. It's like, it is cute. I get it. Like, it's one of those things where like they got by a lot this weekend because what they were doing was reprehensible in some cases. Like, it would just be awful. But you were like, it was cute. And you were like, okay. Whereas if it's a little boy, you'd be like, go to bed. You know, I think the good thing about me and you being parents, at no point, like, you know, I've always been a little afraid to become the parent that like just believes their kid is this genius that like they can do no wrong. I don't think that's me and you. I don't. I mean, Will, I hate to break this. I say this all the time when I see my child just like, you know, I'm like, oh, he's picking up his block to like build something, and then he just like, you know, throws it at his own crotch or something like that, and I'm like, like. Maybe my kid will be smart. I don't know. Like, and I think that's the right attitude to have. Like,
here's the good thing. You and I married up. So my wife is very smart. Your wife is very smart. My wife comes from a family of engineers and like very math-minded people, very like, they think in terms of engineering and building and like creating. Not creativity, but creating. And there's the mathematics behind it. My sons have that. Thank God. Because I do not have a math bone in my body.
no, yeah. We're a couple of morons.
100%. 100%. I have qualities that I can get groceries. Like, I'm good at getting groceries.
It's good. I'm not very good at that. See, that's a weakness I have.
I can water the flowers.
That's good. That's something really good.
Those are things that I can do.
Oh, you used to be really fast.
Oh, yeah, I can, I could still run. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you used to be really fast.
Yeah. It served me well.
I think I think that's the incredible thing about like LeBron James is LeBron James is older than us and he's still playing in the NBA.
Well, he's playing well.
Playing really, really well. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I feel so old every day of my life.
Every time something happens to my body, it's like, well, that's a sensation that will probably come back, like heartburn. Like, do you remember the first time you experienced heartburn as an adult? Not as a kid, but as an adult, you're like, oh, I have to deal with heartburn now?
Yeah, I'm on medicine. I have to take big like horse-looking pills every day of my life because it's so bad. Because it has damaged my stomach so much that my colon almost ruptured when I had you knew this.
Like, when you say your colon is ruptured, are you saying that in a way of bro talks about, like, eating hot wings, like, oh man, I almost ruptured my colon? Or are you saying that, like, in a scientific way, like, my colon almost exploded?
I'm saying it in a scientific way, in the sense of, you knew this. I was hospitalized after, like, literally, like, the day after he brought our kid home because...
but here's the deal. You and I didn't, like, go into, we weren't telling campfire stories about your colons.
I didn't call you and be like, let me give you a minute by minute update of my hospital visit, Will. Yeah.
So what does the sensation feel like? I mean, we don't have to get too deep, but what does post-colon rupture feel like?
So first, I think it feels different for everybody.
Every colon rupture is a snowflake, is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, everyone's a unique little snowflake, and it's different for everybody. My situation was like, I guess it gets to a point where, like, mine had sustained, like, a pretty significant nick. Like, it wasn't ruptured, right? It just had something like a laceration or something where, like, it wasn't 100%, right? But if I had not done anything, it likely would have ruptured and then you could potentially die.
Oh, so when I think of a ruptured colon, I'm picturing, like, you have a pipe and you're trying to fit a bunch of stuff in that pipe and it's too full. And at some point it gets so full and so, like, much pressure, it just explodes.
No. I didn't have exploding butt disease.
Hey, definition, rupture. Especially of a pipe, a vessel, or a bodily part such as an organ or membrane, break or burst suddenly. That's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing you walking around with a very full pipe of a butt, and it's, essentially explodes like 4th of July.
So a perf. I had a perfed colon. All right. So,
like, is that like a Kim Kardashian way of saying, like, you had a perfect colon?
No, not so much, because I don't think they would have administered me to the hospital if they were like, your colon is perfect, sir.
Listen, that is a perf colon.
No, it was very close to rupturing. And basically, if that would have happened, I guess bile and all that fun stuff that's in your stomach would leak out in your stomach, and then stomach and intestines, and then you potentially die of sepsis. So for me, so how did it feel? I think was your question.
Yes, yeah.
It was weird. It was my back. My back hurt really bad. Like, I thought it was my back. It felt like I couldn't bend over. And I think it was like part of, like, I guess it was like maybe a part of my intestines that was actually like, I don't know. It was like I thought it was my back. I thought I was having back issues. And then I thought I was actually told that it was potentially gas issues that I was having, based upon, like, where I was having pain. And then I went in to one of those clinics, and my white blood cell count was really up, and then I had to hang out in the ER for like 8 hours. And then they were like, hey, you gotta hang out. You gotta basically, and what they do when your colon almost ruptures is they make you basically, you have to sort of restart your stomach. And so you can't eat food for like 48 to 72 hours. Like you're on IV drip and taking medicine, and you're also taking in liquids that way. And like you can only have like I think I could only have like maybe a little bit of water, maybe not even water. Like I couldn't, like it was supposed to basically give my stomach a break so it could heal. This is boring. It's medical stuff. But anyway, the history of it is I didn't die, and my colon is not perfect. In fact, it's less than.
You know what though? In my eyes, you got the perf colon, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Anything else to finish out the week, Mr. Skaggs?
Well, yeah, I just want to say something small. So this is kind of a small thing, right? You're always texting me and telling me like, hey, so-and-so bumped into me and told me they love the podcast, or so-and-so bumped into me, told me they love the podcast. I don't get a ton of people telling me that they listen to the podcast. I don't know why. I think you generally have more friends than me, and I don't say that in a disparaging, like angry way. You're just a very outgoing, very personable guy. You're just way more sociable than I am. So I think that might be part of the reason why. But I do find that when I do get people asking me about the podcast, it's never, man, I love that podcast. It's more like, why didn't you tell me you have a podcast? And to that, I've gotten that multiple times. Like, hey, why didn't you tell me you had a podcast? And I think, how do I bring that up in just random conversation? Like, if I'm, go and have coffee with someone, how do you bring up, hey, just so you know, yeah, I'm glad you're doing well, but I got a podcast. How do I bring that up?
And speaking of which, we got to give some shout outs to people who have reached out and said they've enjoyed the podcast. Dan Matthews, shout out to you. Dan Matthews. Katie Norris, shout out to you. Daryl Duke, shout out to you. All people who've expressed a lot of love for the pod. So keep on listening, guys.
And we did get a nice little email from our old friend, Katie Brower. Katie Brower sent us a nice, very sweet email. I haven't seen her in years, but she's sweet and wonderful, and glad she reached out. But so that's it. I mean, it's just weird when I've had a couple people say like, why didn't you tell me you have a podcast? I don't know I'm not going to bring that up a conversation. If you don't know about it, I'm just going to assume you don't know about it, but I'm not going to go around just saying, just so you know.
Well,
I got a podcast.
Very important things are discussed, like JC's niece is a liar. Did you know that JC's niece is like a Rumpelstiltskin that just deceives people?
Listen, if you didn't listen, how would you know that JC has a perfect colon? Let me ask you something. If your colon actually starts to rupture, do you do like butt CPR? Like what? How do you? I
don't think you should float butt CPR be. I'm a little concerned of what that would mean.
If a colon ruptures, that means something is leaking. What do you do?
I think you're mistaking a colon for like the butthole.
They're very loosely related.
No, I don't think, but they're not the same thing. I think like the colon is inside of you. Like it's pretty like it's in your guts, dude.
Here's the thing. That's like saying like the chest has nothing to do with your heart. It's like they're in the same area. So when like you have a heart attack, you give CPR, push the chest. I'm asking like, do I give like 1, 2, 3 to your cheeks, and eventually like it works the colon? Like what? How do you temporarily relieve a ruptured colon?
My favorite would be like, have you ever seen like, and I don't know, I'm guessing this is still true, but like I've seen like films where like someone's in medical school and they're in like a large auditorium and they're like showing the example of the thing, and like students are like having questions to the doctor and stuff. I would love some bizarre scenario that you like snuck into like a prestigious medical school and you had like a white coat and you're just like, excuse me, how do we revive the butt? Can we give it CPR? Do we put the cheeks and give it like, that'd be my dream, is like you, and they're like, excuse me, what? The butt. And then like, what if they like thought you were like Dr. House? Like you were like brilliant. They're like, it's so obscure, he's brilliant. We've never thought of medicine like this.
The best way to... Oh my God! Oh! Victory!
Oh, he's big. You know what's crazy? You know how big of a fly that was? I heard the thwack. I heard when you hit him.
Mm-hmm.
That was impressive, man.
Okay, so back to the... So yeah, I mean, like, you know how like when you look at a diagram of like the heart, right? And they show the body, so you're seeing...
I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't... Not everything...
Colon, to see the colon, you got to get a peek through the cheek.
If something's ripped, you don't just start like pumping at it and it just heals. It eventually heals on its own if it's not ruptured. If it's ruptured, I think you have to do surgery potentially.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Again, I think Dr. Skaggs has some really avant-garde ways of fixing it, and maybe they're just good. They're crazy enough, they might just work. Mr. Skaggs, that's the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. You're hailed as this like revolutionary doctor for...
Hey, real quick, let's see if this works. Give me any kind of ailment, and I'll tell you how I would fix it.
Chapped lips.
Well, that's easy. First, we must look at the Eastern medicines for this one. Get 3 garlic cloves, some manuka honey, and a goat named Regis. Mix the honey and the garlic together. Get some of Regis's milk. Mix together a concoction. Rub it on your lips. Bada bing, bada boom.
2 things that I'm sure our audience caught. First, what was the first thing that you said?
I said 3 garlic cloves.
Oh, I thought you said dark cloves, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but I was going to go with it. Second, it's a male goat, right?
Regis? Yeah, he's always been male.
Okay, but he makes milk.
All goats make milk. Everyone knows that.
I don't know if that's true. Fantastic. Well, Dudies, I highly suggest you follow Dr. Will's careful instructions and go to what is it? thedudepod.com?
thedudepod.com.
thedudepod.com.
So we don't have to keep making these announcements. If you haven't got a question, you go on there.
Find us on YouTube. You can, on the Dude Pod, you can find the Spotify, you can find the iTunes link, you can find the YouTube link, you can find the merch link. All right. We love you, Dudies. Thank you for listening. Have an awesome week, and go USA.
God bless America.
God bless America.
See you guys.